Hello guys, Flame Gazette here talking to you about the latest game I've been playing. I've been playing Nikke Goddess of Victory. It's a gacha idol game that came out recently. It's very fun. I enjoy quite a few aspects of it. There are some things that concern me about the future longevity of the game, as the gameplay loop is that of an idle game, which I haven't played before. This is just my third gacha game, and it's my first idle game. And so I'm gonna explain that a bit or some of the negatives of the game, but that just might be the style of it, and I'd have to get used to it since I'm not familiar with these style games. But I can tell you that it's very fun so far. So I'm gonna highlight some of the things that I enjoy about the game. There's character assets are fantastic. The aesthetics of the enemies and boss design, also the story settings is fun. It's great fun, and I think that if you're into like anime and sci-fi and waifus, this is a game for you. But it's gonna be tempered by, it's a gacha game, mobile game, idle game, so I'll talk about that a little later. The gameplay is very similar to like an arcade style shooter, like an old school one. I'd like to say it was similar to something like, like a Time Blade, not Time Blade, I'm sorry, what? Time Crisis. No, Time Crisis and Gunblade. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I got those two mixed up again. Time Blade. It's a Gunblade Time Crisis. It feels like an arcade shooter at times that's on your phone, but all the graphics are in 2D. Right. So you have a squad of Nikkes. These are artificial humans or androids, and they're fighting the raptors, the aliens or robot monstrosities that have taken over the surface. It's kind of like Terminator in that way. So the gameplay is pretty fun. There's a cover aspect to it where when they're reloading, they take cover, but this cover has an HP, and so it can be used to buffer against attacks, but once that's whittled away, then you will be taking the full brunt of the attacks from enemies. The thing is, the gameplay goes fairly quick, and there isn't a very good way to use the cover that isn't telegraphed very well by a boss. Like it's mostly when there's a boss that's powering up and it's able to telegraph its attack, then you can use the cover effectively. Other times, it's kind of like your characters are auto shooting if you're not manually controlling one of the main characters that you can switch to, and so while they're reloading, they won't take any damage as long as the barrier cover is still effective. Now, because you're fighting a lot of different like swarms of these robot creatures, and some of their lasers and shots are hard to track, especially once they start filling up the screen. It's not a very effective way to use the cover manually, but you can. There's like a button that you can press on the character you control, the Nikke you control, to have everyone duck for cover. But that's generally more effective against boss fights. The way that you could probably utilize effective defense is probably by having a tank sort of character, which there's all sorts of different characters that Nikke has, which is part of the fun. The other positive aspects are, the voice acting. The voice acting is good. I like the dub, and I also like the Japanese is fantastic. At least I think so. But this is all subjective, so to each your own. I think it's great. Now, let's talk about some of the negative aspects about this game. It has a fairly large difficulty spike at times that forces you to idle. And I guess this is part of the gameplay loop of an idle game that I was kind of talking about earlier. So idle games mean that you'll hit a certain wall of difficulty and you have to stop playing. Or rather, you can try to play and force your way through that level, but it's incredibly difficult. You might have to pay in order to get resources. So you can do it right then and there. If not, then you just have to wait until there's a part of the game where you're building an outpost that has a sort of automated defense system. You just grow it and set it and forget it. It'll get you resources, but you have to stay away from the game. Once you get these resources, then you can level up your Nikkes. So there are ways around that. If you have a particularly good set of characters, you can use some synergies that they have, like maybe you have more AoE attacks, some more buffs that can let them hit harder. But I found that playing this game, there's times where this wall is quite difficult to circumvent. So take that as you will. Another thing is that the game was released with quite a few bugs. So some of the team synergies and kits don't work, and others work too well. Like, so there's a character that should be a tank. She cannot taunt the character. She cannot direct the enemy's aggro to her, so her kit was useless. And then there's another character that semi-heals, that has a sustainability for the team, but at times she can give some characters infinite ammo or something. So I don't know if that was a game glitch or it's working as intended, but there's definitely quite a few bugs where certain skill kits don't work as intended, and so some characters may be stronger than they're supposed to be, or it's completely useless because their kit is not working as intended. So the team building aspect is kind of not that well implemented right now. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be working in the future once they iron out the bugs, but currently, you know, you have to find that information from various sites as to what works and what doesn't work, so that you can continue to push through if you're going to try to fight the power spike that happens in this idle game. And then there's other issues that I have with the game where if you're playing in landscape mode, there's a user interface issue where if you're playing with the mouse, sometimes it just feels so slow to drag the targeting reticle across the screen. In portrait mode on a tablet or phone, it works well. It just works fantastic. It plays well. But when you're playing on landscape mode, because it's not a mode that they've implemented natively, I guess. I mean, it's possible to do it if you force the app to do so, and it will. Yeah, it looks pretty because you see more of your squad and you see a wider range of the enemy. Sometimes there are enemies that take up the whole screen. There's an issue where it feels like you're dragging the targeting reticle, and it's just so slow. And so you feel like you're not as responsive when you're destroying things, either boss parts or enemies. And another gripe is that if you're playing this in PC, you have an emulator, you could probably keybind the burst, the special abilities of the Nikkes. Can't do that in a tablet, so you have to either set it to auto, or you have to drag the mouse all the way to the right and tap on the buttons, meaning that you'd have to let go of the targeting reticle, and it kind of just throws off your game. It just doesn't feel as smooth. But these things are definitely not a non-issue in portrait mode. I feel like that one is done really well, so I'm guessing that in some future update they'll be able to fix that. And the other thing is that because it's a gacha game, there's definitely some feel bad moments for some of the rewards. So there is a reward where you can get what they say, an SSR mode. It allows you to get a gold character. It's 60%. And it's not that easy to earn these. I mean, you know, when you're beginning in the game, to letting you get these fairly easily, but later on they get more difficult to earn. And it's definitely a feel bad moment when you open them up and it's not what you're expecting. I mean, it just plays into the entire gambling thing of gacha gaming, so I accept it. so far I've been doing well with it, but I can see where people will feel bad earning these things and not getting what they want. So it's one of the things that you have to expect from this. But other than that, I think that this is a very fun game, so I think that people should try it out. Hopefully the gameplay that I have recorded is enjoyable to watch. Talk to you guys later. Bye.